Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole,
And I'm Brittany.
and this is the 11-Minute Mile, episode 27, almost at 30. Crazy. And we're just going to chat about wedding stuff, touch a little bit on the guest list, how complicated that could be, and like invites. I forget, Brittany, did you do a digital
No,
invite
I
or
didn't.
save? I forget. I like can't
Yeah,
even.
so
It was so long
my
ago.
save the date was paper. It was
Okay.
I was really we kind of went back and forth because it was during COVID. So we were kind of back and forth about whether we wanted to do that. I just love the idea of like having it up on the refrigerator, like a paper copy.
Yeah.
And I love it as a reminder for people. So I was kind of adamant about making them paper. And I also just love designing them. And I know you're the
Yeah.
same way with
It's
like
fun.
that artsy stuff and making them. So we had a fun time doing pictures because we actually went into Antelope Canyon and that's where we did our pictures. And my sister just snapped a quick pic,
Yeah, I
and
remember
that's what we
those.
did. Yeah,
Yeah, they were cute. But
super fun.
your invites too, you did paper invites.
Yeah, we did
So did
paper
I.
invites also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I was just really specific. Like I wanted to do like the traditional, like paper classical
Well,
invite.
yours was pretty elaborate. Your
It
invite,
was.
right?
I worked with a girl, like a graphic designer in Buffalo now, and she was amazing. Now, if I went back in time, if I were needing to like save
Hmm.
somewhere, I would have done the invites digitally. Like I would
Yeah,
have just done it through Minted or whatever and just send them that way just because it is a cost. Like it's definitely a
definitely.
cost.
It becomes
So
such a cost, and even just
it
the
does.
stamps too.
Yeah. The
Everything
only
becomes.
the only thing I don't love about doing it, just like sending it through an email or whatever, is older people don't always use their email or like they miss that stuff. They can be
Hmm.
very forgetful. So I feel like just having a physical copy of it is just so much nicer. That's the reason I think that paper is better. But I think if you are needing to save somewhere,
It's a
there's
good place.
no like reason why you couldn't do it digitally
Yeah, and
for
I mean
sure.
now everything is done digitally so people
Yes.
can figure
Yes.
it out, but I just personally love the idea of getting something in the mail. It feels just a little bit more
Yeah.
personal and then I look at the calendar, you go back, like sometimes if
Yeah.
you get something via email, you're like, "Yes, I can go," and you forget the
Yeah.
date, you just don't really pay too much attention. That's just me personally, but
No, I agree. And speaking of paper, thank you cards.
oh
The
yeah.
second that you get married, you do those thank you cards right after because you will prolong them forever and ever. Otherwise, I am so good with thank you cards. Like, I give thank you cards for everything and anything. But
Hmm.
for some reason, after my wedding, I was just like, took forever to get them done. And I wish I would just done it, got it done
Yeah,
with,
right away.
sent them. Cause then you
Yeah.
start like after a month, you're like, okay, well, I'll do like a few today. Like get them done. Just
Well,
get
I
them
feel
done.
like I asked you quite a bit about the thank you cards because I mean, with the registry, people were sending gifts and I was
Mm-hmm.
sending thank you cards as I was getting the gifts, thanking them for
Yeah.
the gift because you're just so overwhelmed with gratitude from all these things people are
Yes.
giving you. You just want to make sure that everyone's seen and heard because I mean, even with the baby registry, the wedding registry, any registry you do, you constantly are getting things and you just want to respond right away so you don't forget about them.
100%. It is like just get them done and out of the way because it will take you forever to do them. And I'm a thank you card girly. You definitely should send a thank you card for any like for wedding stuff. Like it's important.
You instilled that in me and I
I
because
did?
I never yeah, you really did because I mean as a kid, I don't think I just like we never really we would just be like thank you
Yeah.
like we would do it just wasn't a huge thing and I just do appreciate it so much when you do. I like to make it a little bit more detailed. I like to make it
Yeah.
feel a little bit more personal. But did you and Chris both write the thank yous or did you kind of take that on?
I wrote most of them and then he just like addressed them all, which was
Yeah.
really helpful because like
Yeah.
that takes a really long time too. But
Definitely.
I definitely think people appreciate the thank yous for sure. They take long,
Hmm.
but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Um, but totally different topic, wedding wise. the guest list.
The guest list. I know that's like the
Oh,
main topic. The
it's
drama.
so hard. It really is so hard. Like I really struggled with it. And then you struggle with like who gets a plus one. And I was at the point in my life where a lot of my friends were still not married and dating. So that part gets really tricky. It really does.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you do yours? Because everyone does it so different.
So,
There's no right or wrong. I
and
just don't
the thing
remember.
is I remember my cousin going to a wedding, and she said that she didn't get a plus one because they weren't married yet, but they
Hmm.
were living together or they were
Yeah.
engaged or something. And I feel like if you are engaged or living together, you should, and because we were a destination wedding, it was like you should definitely give a plus one if it's a
100% agree.
destination. Because if
Yeah.
you're making it like a travel wedding, and it really depends if you've been dating. I never would give somebody a plus one that I've never met.
Yeah.
Or just being like, hey, yeah, like bring your friend or something like
For
that,
sure.
because it was a little bit more intimate. Because I mean, sometimes you're cutting people that like you really would want to invite, but giving somebody a plus one
Yeah.
that you didn't know, you're like, I don't know, that's too
And you
risky.
don't know
But
how they're going to act at your wedding. Like they
yeah,
might act
I
a
mean,
fool.
not everybody's perfect and wonderful. So
Yeah.
we kind of gave everybody a plus one who we knew,
Yeah.
like
Smart.
had been together dating and
Hmm.
together for a while. And it was like some of my cousins had been dating people, but they were just a little bit younger. And if you're going with like your family, we kind of like took that into consideration because
Absolutely.
it's hard because like some of my cousins are a little bit younger. They're like 19, 18, and then they're all dating people for a
Yeah.
long time, but also you're like, I don't
Those
know.
few extra people that you invite, like it does make a difference because those plus ones, like it ends up becoming like 8, 10, 15, 20 people, like additional
Yeah,
people. And
definitely.
so we kind of did the same. Like if you were married or like living together, or if you've been like at least dating for like a year or whatever, if it was
Yeah.
like a fresh
New.
person and didn't
Yeah.
know them really, I do think if you invite someone that's traveling in from out of town and like they don't know a lot of people at the wedding,
Hmm.
I gave some plus ones just because I feel bad having them travel like alone, you
Right.
know, and it's
Yeah.
expensive too. So I think that that plays into account. Like if you want them at your wedding and you want them to travel, you do kind of have to offer that to them, you know, because
Yeah.
it's a huge expense. Like at the end of the day, you are throwing a big party for people to attend, you know, and
Yeah.
it's a lot for them too.
Definitely. And I think it kind of depends on the person that you're inviting. Cause I mean, I know
Yeah,
I've been invited as a single person alone, and I was completely fine.
of
Like,
course.
and people are like,
Yes.
she's great. She's fine.
Yes.
So it really depends, but
It
it
does.
is
And like
nice
you
to
know your
have that.
people, and
Definitely.
I do think it's the guest list thing gets really hard though. And at the end of the day, you have to kind of take the emotions out of it. And
Hmm.
it's expensive. Weddings are not cheap. Like
Yeah.
it's, and then you're inviting your parents' friends, your in laws' parents' friends, and everyone knows you can't have everybody there. Like
Yeah.
you kind of have to think like long term too. In 15 years, are you still going to be talking to these people, sort of thing,
Right.
right? I don't
And the
know.
way
Or
we
like,
also kind of did it too is like who was an important person in our relationship. Like not necessarily
yeah,
like important for me like growing up and who made me the person that I am, but also who was
yeah,
an important person in our relationship. Because there were so many people with different phases of life, like even different relationships where you
totally.
were really close with people and then you kind of like separated, and that's okay. Like you don't have to invite every
Yeah.
single person that was a part of those parts of your life that
Well,
maybe you don't want to bring.
and no one can be mad at you. Like it's your at the end of the day, it's your
It's your
wedding
wedding. Yeah.
and no one can be upset with that. Like I have never been offended if I was friends with somebody and maybe I didn't get invited. I'm like, that is totally your call. You're paying for
Yeah.
this. No one else is. Still love you sort of thing. But I
Hmm.
get it. It's expensive. And then obviously the guest list, then comes the seating chart, and that was so difficult.
Wild.
That's a whole nother episode in itself. And I
The
feel like
seating
people would
chart.
really appreciate the seating chart
I
advice.
actually loved doing the seating chart
I did it.
because, yeah, well, you also had so many people, and I just started
Yes.
mixing people in, and I was like, you're sitting for dinner, like you'll be fine.
Yeah, but like a seating chart for 300 people is definitely not easy. And like, yeah, it's not easy. It was hard. And
Another episode.
everyone told me, they were like, okay, all my friends that were married before me, they go, just so you know, the seating chart is really difficult. Like once you get down, I'm like, this is going to be really fun. It's fine. And I go, yeah, you guys were all right. Should have taken your advice. For some
Yeah,
reason, it is so hard. I don't know. And you want to
yeah,
make sure
because
like everyone's comfy and
yeah, can
whatever.
be themselves.
Yes. But wow, that was a really quick
I
thing.
know we could talk about wedding stuff forever. Every time I listen to one of the wedding episodes, I'm like, wait, I just want to relive my wedding again and again
Because
and again.
everyone does it so differently and it's exciting. It's like
Yeah,
fun to hear.
it is
Um,
fun.
all right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. We'll talk about the seating chart in our
Yeah.
next wedding episode eventually.
I love it. All right, we'll see you later.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.